And we are live.
Great. Welcome back to Foiling Week 2022 and the Foiling Week Forum. I am your host, Chris Museler. I am back with Bruno Gentoli, and we are still here on the shores of Lake Garda. And we are working through the SuMoth Challenge. This has been a multi-step, multi-year program for a lot of universities around the world. We have many of them here for the final stages of the challenge and testing out the boats, which we'll see. It's been going on this week, yes. And we'll see them later on today. So as we move through the teams, today we have Politecnico Torino and
hello, everybody.
Hello, and local favorites. And then we have the University of Southampton, not the furthest traveled, but right in the middle. So welcome to you as well.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. So Bruno, let's get into it with these teams. We talked to two other teams before. And one of the, we covered a full range of things in terms of how these universities use what their resources are at their schools, and then what resources that they've had to outsource and seek out other kind of inspiration and knowledge from other technologies and individuals. With your pre-knowledge of these teams, maybe we can let you start to ask some of the first questions.
Yeah, I think we have like two good examples of those relationships on a different perspective. On Politecnico Torino, they were able to build the first ever SuMoth and bring it last year in foil in the waters of Lake Garda. So let's say they are the OG. And so they have a lot of experience. They have a great team. They have a lot of manpower. And to my knowledge, on Southampton, it's a bit the opposite. They were a bit short on time with little stuff, so they seek out for help, ones from the legacy teams and the other ones from Southampton, to experience boat builders in boat yards. So they create this relationship with the industry that is needed, and they're actually finishing school with the SuMoth Challenge. So this is their final master's project, which is awesome. Like imagine doing that for your school.
Yeah, no, I definitely made a mistake in my school choices. and I just wanted to bring that up about Southampton, is that, we know in the yacht racing world and the yachting world that Southampton's really famous. A lot of the really great men and women yacht racers had spent time, sometimes not full degrees, but spent time studying at Southampton to develop their individual skills that allowed them to be either technicians, engineers, on top of their professional sailing careers of sailing basically around the world and in the America's Cup. Those kind of people have come out of places like Torino as well. Southampton is notable for that, but this is kind of early days. You guys are the OG in Southampton for committing to these types of programs. Yeah. So congratulations to both teams.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's get into it. So there we go. Sorry. So we'll start with Southampton. Introduce yourselves, what your line of study is, and what your role is on the team.
Yes, so I'm Hattie Rogers. I'm 22 years old, and I'm part of the University of Southampton SuMoth team. So I'm the team captain, and yeah.
And I'm Louis Hatchett. I'm the whole design officer in the Southampton SuMoth team. So we both do ship science at the University of Southampton. And our team is, so it consists of 6 people, 4 ship science with 1 mechanical engineer and 1 aero student. So we try to combine all the knowledge from all the courses to make the best SuMoth ever.
Awesome. And Torino?
I am Lorenzo Collo. I'm the product manager of our project Sula. I'm 20 years old, and I'm studying industrial production engineering at Polytechnic.
Okay, thank you. I'm Salvatore Bucaria, and I'm a member of the dynamic and performance section of our team. I have aerospace background, so this is this most suitable area for me. And we preliminary designed the boat, and we are proud of it. Maybe yes.
Cool, thank you. Bruno, talking about Torino and kind of how quickly they got to their, got to the Moth and got it up and running. In the preliminary stages, you've been part of every step of the way for all these teams because you had to go through these kind of gateways to get to where you are today. What was it about Torino's program that allowed them to move so quickly? Was it because of legacy programs, or what's your observation?
So, yeah, I think the really strong point of Torino, it's the organization in the school, how the school supports the team. So if I'm not mistaken, there are around 110 students in the whole sailing team, which is massive. And actually, they were able to build the last SuMoth, the one Sula, which is the one here. Well, they actually both are here. It's for a week, but the last one in a month, running 3 shifts a day. So there was always someone 24/7 working on the boat for a month.
Without sleeping.
Without sleeping. Yeah. So yeah, that's a great achievement on how you need to be organized. It's not just working like crazy, but because doing it in a month and coming here and foiling on the first day, it's amazing. Like I think I haven't seen that even on a test boat. Usually you go through a phase of small testing and they went straight on and foiled. Little repairs on the way. So I think they're making it.
Always something to do.
There's always something, but yeah, it's incredible. So for them, the strong point is school support, and therefore the students that want to join.
Cool. And before we get back into the on water, because that was a perfect lead into talking about our on water experiences, but I want to back up a little bit and talk technical. And in the previous 2 teams, we talked about what their biggest challenge was, maybe the biggest hole in their expertise on their team or at their university where they had to really bring in help, or where they made where they had to redo something, whether it be we had a mold release issue having to do with an eco resin, and another one had to do with the materials for the mold not being able to make the right angles, even though they're trying to do a mold out of recyclable materials. I don't know if it's the same exact parts, but maybe I want to talk about where your strengths were. So where you quickly got to solutions and covered that ground very quickly and left the time for other challenges. Maybe we'll start with Southampton. Where were your expertise best suited? Where did you find solutions very quickly for this design challenge?
I think, I mean, between our team, as Louis said earlier, we're quite like broad. So we've got like aero, we've got ship science, so the majority is ship science, and then we've got one mechanical student as well. And I think because we started our project in October, we had to be like super organized, and we had a Gantt chart laid out, and we pretty much stuck to it. But in terms of strengths, I mean, do you want to expand on that?
I think like we did pretty well in terms of timeline, because the preliminary design of the boat had to be done within a month or 2. So we gathered pretty much every week to discuss about what the challenges are going to be, where the main areas of the moth we need to focus on, which elements of the SuMoth we need to focus on as well. So we decided to focus on 3 main parts. So the hull, basically, the wing bars, and the flight control system as well. So I think these 3 elements were set pretty early on. So we knew what the challenges were going to be and how to tackle them. And so all the preliminary design was done like in 2 months, and then we were able to start the manufacture as well.
But right at the start, we kind of identified all the different tasks and then ranked them 1 to 5 to identify where the strengths were within the group and maybe where the weaknesses were, so that we could split the roles really evenly. And because our team was really small, we had to make sure that the strongest person was in the best area. So that worked really well for us. Yeah.
Cool. And into Torino, were there areas at the Politecnico that allowed you to, kind of fast forward on one area of the project? Maybe just maybe technically what your resources were at the university, or even an individual who was able to help you?
Now, this year, we moved to a co-working space. So we are not directly in the Polytechnic, but we are in another place with other companies. And there we have tools that we can use 24 hours. So, for example, the CNC milling machine, so that we could work whenever we wanted. But I think that our strength was that we plan nearly every detail from the beginning, so that when we passed to the manufacturing phase, we only had to do what we already thought. So it was faster, and we didn't have many issues on that.
Yeah, no, also because like Bruno said, we've experienced also this type of stuffs, and so the key points was to think before doing something and try to say minimize the risk, minimize the time, and be aware of our limits of production. And so the preliminary part in the months of October and November was very tough because you have to balance also your life.
Yeah. Good point.
And school.
It's
Yeah,
cool.
so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
still need to pass.
We can-
There's many of the students who are trying to study during the SuMoth challenge because they have exams right after it, which is it's not easy.
Awesome. And so one of the last things we'll talk about is on the water experience. I watched Hattie sail the other day in Big Breeze and watch how the boats perform. Bruno's been involved with watching how these boats perform. Bruno, all the boats look different. They look
Yes.
super different,
Yes.
even down to some of the sail choices, but that's not necessarily part of the design challenge. But what stands out to you about the boats from these two teams that's so unique?
They're quite different. I was out with Hattie and was on a Big Breeze. She was having some trouble with buoyancy.
Point to the main hull when it low riding. Yeah.
So we were having around, like, I would say, half a meter waves,
Mm.
a bit more maybe, and 15 to 20 knots.
Yeah.
So it was rough. Torino on the previous boat had some troubles like that. So for the second boat, they didn't take the risk and they went on a bigger hull.
High volume.
Yeah, high
Yeah.
volume. So this is something that is great. They learned from that. I wouldn't call it a mistake, a design choice. So they could concentrate on other aspects for to improve. So they would change the hull, and Lorenzo was able to foil right away in Big Breeze and Small Breeze.
Yeah.
So those are the big things that I think.
And I have an observation myself too, because there are trade-offs, with a low volume hull versus a high volume hull. There's aero drag, there's touchdown back and forth discussions about that. And let's get into the weeds with a little bit. Design choices, both very artistic. The shape of Torino's boat is pretty fantastic. It's definitely a work of art. And Southampton's boat is super minimalist in the hull, but super artistic in your wing bars. So tell me about your wing bar decision. I mean, there's definitely some artistry there in terms of using curves and lamination. And what type of wood are they?
So I think the reason we went for the wood, so I was actually in charge of the wing bars, so
Perfect.
You can
Thank
talk
you.
about it.
Yeah. But I think the main reason that we decided as a team to go for the wooden wing bars was, we did a QFD analysis to kind of weigh up different methods. I mean, the first thing was to decide whether we were going to go for fixed or removable, and then also it's basically transport. We had to get the boat down here, so. But the reason we went for wood was because it was $0 SuMoth dollars. So this kind of the audit system, and we all minimized that. So we went for that, and then we took.
You had free wing bars.
Yeah, effectively. I mean, some of the other teams have actually commented that it's like half a tree on the boat. But actually, I think that because I'm quite light, you actually get more writing moments. So I think once you're up, it's fine.
Yeah.
But we took a really traditional approach. So we used the Contessa Tiller manufacturing process. So we literally built a homemade mold in the shape we wanted. And then, used like bioresins and sawdust effectively to stick all of the 7mm plies together. And we managed to get a really nice taper and shape into her. And the mold was literally just from our garden. So it's just using blocks of wood that we chopped up and we could use a kind of form a shape kind of thing. But it's worked really well. And
Cool. Excellent. Considering all the parameters of even just not just the material, but the glues and the molds and all the parts have to be considered.
Yeah. Well, it's the first thing we made, so.
Easy. And then how about for Torino? I mean, the hull is inspired. It's your second hull. Can you tell me if there is artistry involved in terms of designing the shape of the hull? Did you do some drag assessments on that, or was it strictly a volume and seeing how you can shape it to fit the box?
We didn't take into consideration too much the drag, because there was no time, because we started very late. We decided the shape between a few proposals that were done, and we decided this type of shape because we wanted to be sure that the boat doesn't have problem, the hull doesn't have problem. So,
like structurally.
Yeah. Structurally and with buoyancy. Because last year we had many issues with that thing, especially during the takeoff phase.
Okay.
So thanks to the experience we had last year, we decided to use this type of shape, maybe more secure. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. Cool. And Bruno, so onto the flying. These two teams obviously are pretty far ahead in terms of executing the challenge, which, as we talked about, it's not all just flying and how fast you can go. It's everything else. That's actually a really small part of it, even though it's very exciting. So what are your observations with the performance of these boats?
I'm amazed.
Does it surprise you that they flew? Does it surprise you that they flew?
No.
Okay.
Such little faith.
It's faith. Yeah, that's how engineering works.
Yeah, I guess. It must be modern engineering.
So yeah, well, I cannot believe it. 4 years ago we threw a PDF to the web and called for students to, let's say, stick to the challenge if they want it, and they come back with a foiling mouth. For me, it's amazing. Every time I go out and see the guys flying, I get goosebumps. It's I always believed it's possible. I think it's a really difficult competition, a difficult challenge, but I think it's needed. There's other competitions that some of the teams are involved, the Italian teams, but I don't think they would call the attention of industry just with that. We need to have the performance aspect on the equation. Only sustainable materials is not enough, in my opinion. If they see that sustainability and efficiency goes together, and also the price is kept down somehow, that we can make it economically viable, that's gonna happen. And I think what these guys are doing, especially on Southampton's boat, not only the other teams were saying, oh, maybe we're gonna go that road the next time, like using wood, because the impact on SuMoth dollars is really low. Like we try to get that as much as like biomaterials as possible, as much as raw as possible too. But also moth sailors, really high-end moth sailors, looking at the wing bars and saying that's awesome.
Yeah,
and
that's a good sight.
Of course, they're heavier than high modulus carbon, but it's a solution.
Right.
It's a solution. Maybe being heavier for riding moment is not so bad.
And one of our partners in Foiling Week and a lot of these programs is 11th Hour. And I think that there's a lot to, 11th Hours have worked really hard on bringing to our attention life cycle assessment in terms of starting from the ground up on projects. And the SuMoth Challenge kind of grew out of a lot of that influence. So maybe tell me about that relationship and how it's kind of manifesting itself in these teams.
It wouldn't be possible to run the SuMoth Challenge without the support of the 11th Hour. We have today Lorraine Makina joining us here for the discussions and stage one evaluation right after this. We need to accelerate all these projects to achieve the goal that we have. So one of the main goals of the challenge is for all these guys, all the teams, all the students from the teams to get into industry with these innovative ideas and also push for that from the inside. Because we can present this to the industries, but if there's not someone from the inside saying, yeah, this is what we can do and it works, and I'm sure it works. We tried it and we can move forward. I believe it's not going to work. We need to go from the inside and make the changes.
And these seem to be then in the future, these might be sustainability moles, like you plant them in companies.
Yeah, one of also our partners on the challenge is Beacon.
Mhm.
And what I've learned, even though I'm a composites engineer, during one of the master classes that we had with Paolo Dassi, who was one of the jury, is that they're building molds out of flax. And it's a really good material because of the thermal expansion. It's really low.
Mhm.
So we usually do it out of carbon because when we put it in the oven, we wanted to keep it as stable as possible. But flat, it's also a really good solution. And at least half the mold would be from a biosource 100%. So that's something that I'm testing myself on my job, and I would like to see maybe that in the next SuMoth teams, and how they build their foils, their hulls, or whatever how they need to.
Yeah, and one of the main messages that I'll kind of pull this back in. One of the main messages that I've learned from 11th Hour is that, you know, you can have performance and still meet these green and sustainability goals, and that's what this kind of project is trying to prove. We can still make a high performance boat and still use these technologies and use flax. It might be a little heavier, so you might want to save weight in other areas, but the benefits environmentally far exceed the small loss in some area of performance. And so my last question for the group is a personal one. Having gone through, like I said, I was never fortunate enough to take on a team challenge in university. I had to learn it on the fly as I went into my professional life. Going through this project, I mean, it's probably pretty hard to have perspective as school and this project's wrapping up. But do you feel, and we'll just go from this side to this side, do you feel like you've gained more confidence and have a little bit more clarity in terms of your possible professional life after this project?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's opened my eyes to like a few different things. I mean, for me, I just want to go sailing, and combining the sustainability, my degree, and also foiling and sailing, this project has been perfect for my final year. Like, I don't think we could have had a better project, to be honest. Because for us, there was two sides of the project. There was our group design project, and then there's the SuMoth. So it's good combining those two things. It's been fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah, well, like Hattie said, I think the best advantage of this project was to combine the real academic side of the university with a lot of supports from the university, and combine it with a more professional and work with the industries. And both sides just taught us how to tackle challenges, how an industry would tackle the same challenges, and make it sustainable. And I think 11th Hour, by providing the life cycle analysis tool, just quantifying and putting a number on how sustainable and what environmental impact the boat has. You just want to change this number of now we have a number, and usually you want to lower it. And so just having a number, now we just want to make better and better for the next few years. So we'll always have this in mind, and yeah, that was great.
It's normal for you as you tackle projects now,
Yeah,
going
exactly.
forward.
Yeah. Now I think we'll always have this sustainable side of each project.
And Torino, going forward for you, is going through this project with the university, knowing that the university has been established in these type of projects too. What are you looking forward to? Does this give you an idea that you might be able to be a part of the working world in these areas?
I think I want to work in this area. I think that this experience, with this experience, I learned much more than any other courses I followed at university. So it's a good thing that our university can teach us also in other form, with other methods, like practical method, and not only theoretical.
Awesome.
Yep. I don't have my clear future for the moment, but no.
We don't expect you to.
I mean, but without political team and without the SuMoth challenge, it will be not the same, because I've learned to make trade-off between stuffs, and this is fundamental for the engineering world, and also to be aware of every single situation and also of every single member of the team. So evaluate its work, evaluate its personality, and I mean, these are qualities that maybe will be useful for the future. And yes, so thank you.
Awesome. Well, I mean, it's great to be a part of it from our end, and certainly from Foiling Week. This is a huge component. We're really thankful to Bruno. I mean, he kind of started out his professional career with some Foiling Week connections. So, Bruno, we'll let you wrap this up.
Yeah, well, I shall wrap it out with one short question for, I would say, one of each. Why should you guys win in next S1 evaluation that we're going to see from 12? Why? Let's start with Southampton. Why should Moonshot win?
Well, I think like we're kind of proud of what we've achieved. We're only 6 in the team with like only 9 months of work. We spent hours, and we're kind of proud of our boats. I mean, we saw her fly yesterday, perfect conditions, very stable, a lot of performance, and so we can't wait to see our race against the other. But I think we're on the win.
What about Davino?
Because we are very hard worker, and there was a really great collaboration since the beginning of the project. And in spite of being a big team, it is not easy. It is not easy to manage anything, and we pushed ourselves daily with innovative challenges, and that's why we will win.
I'm extremely grateful to have you guys here, especially to 11th Hour and all our partners, Become Persico, and to have to call Foiling Week my home.
Great.
So,
Well,
thank you guys. Let's wrap it up, and we see you in 20 minutes for the
Wow,
stage 1
okay.
evaluation. So it won't be as chill as the last 2. So thank you very much.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
awesome. Thank you.
Thank
Yep,
you.
we'll wrap this up from Foiling Week 2022, and we'll see you momentarily for the evaluations. So stand by and keep